Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. Today I want to do a video that is different than usual. I want to ask for help and I want to talk to you about me, about my predicament, about why I am here physically, but also why I am here in terms of my financial situation. I need help to find a job. I need to find a job that just pays the bills. I don't care what type of job that is. I don't need it to be fancy. I am not asking for something with a wow factor. Anything that can pay the bills, anything that can be relied upon for the immediate future. I need help because I have known since August that I must leave the place where I live. I must leave, and the problem is that accommodation prices in the area have skyrocketed since I got here. So to leave means to pay at least, based on the research I have done, at least triple the price while my income is fixed. So to triple the fixed costs is basically financial ruin. It's not possible. So I need a solution, and this solution cannot come locally, cannot come from where I live, because where I live, it's a sparsely populated area, and basically there are no jobs. There are no jobs that can cover the tripling of accommodation costs. Cyprus, I live in the Troodos mountain range of Cyprus now. Cyprus is not viable anymore because even the tourist industry has been suffering great hits from the pandemic and then the war in Ukraine, because it was dependent on tourism from Russia. So tourism is not viable either, while the prices of accommodation in the cities are even higher than they are here. To give you an indication, when I first got here, I would pay €100 per month. Now you will be lucky if you find it for 400, 600. It is how it is. So this is my problem. I need to leave the country. I need to relocate. And I need some human to help me with that. I need human connection. I cannot do it on my own. I cannot do it on my own because, one, I do not have the money. And two, I do not have the CV. And this is why I want to tell you about my story. Why I am here. Why I am here literally, but also why am I the victim of this systemic crisis, of this perfect storm of crises, as it were. I have to start from the year 2011. I was a student at the European University Cyprus. I was studying European politics, economics and law, my bachelor's degree, the only formal qualification I have. And in February 2011, I launched my website, protesilaos.com. At the time, it was a blog on Blogger. Anyhow, I was writing about the then ongoing financial crisis in the euro area. So the sovereign debt and bank crises that were at their peak in those years. I need to get back because a storm is coming, so I don't have to go away too much. So I was writing about the euro crisis, okay? And I was blogging regularly, and in September of that year, September 2011, a member of the European Parliament, an MEP, contacted me. just to introduce themselves to me. I will not say who this person is. It's not a secret. I will not say it, but if you really need to know that information, I am happy to provide it to you and also put you in contact with that person. But really, it's not something that needs to be public. But trust me. So this person contacted me just to introduce themselves, and we talked. They did not understand that I was a student. They did not understand that I was still at the university. Anyhow, fast forward to February 2012, and we continued talking with this person, and eventually they understood who I am, who I was, and they offered me a job. I was not expecting it. I had not graduated yet from university. I was not expecting it, but it came my way. So I was like, yes, I like it. The job was for the role of parliamentary assistant, accredited parliamentary assistant. If you are curious, I can tell you what that job entails, what it is about. But basically, you have to deal with legislation, you have to deal with the practical aspects of politics. So I said yes, I accept, but I don't have the money. I didn't have the money. I didn't have any money. I come from a low-income background, and at the time I was working and studying. Throughout my studies, this was the case. I was working and studying, and I was barely making ends meet. So while I accepted, I told the person I cannot come. It's a nice offer, but I accept it, but I simply cannot pay the startup costs. So the MEP offered to assume those costs and said that all I needed was to pay for the plane tickets. A friend of mine paid for a ticket, one-way ticket with Ryanair, and I arrived in Brussels Charleroi airport, and from there I started my job at the European Parliament, my job in Brussels at the European Parliament there. I was poor, and with the money I was earning at the time, I had to pay back for the startup costs. So basically, I had no disposable income whatsoever. I was on a fine margin, and my expenditure was subdued, was absolutely the essentials. The problem then was that I had great difficulty, it was impossible rather, to integrate in that milieu. Because, for example, they would invite me to their party, my colleagues, and I would say I cannot come. At the time, I was too proud to say why I cannot come. I did not admit that I don't have money, and I was too proud and ashamed of it. So I would come up with lies, with excuses, like I am too busy, too tired, have something else, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea, whatever would come to mind at the moment. It's not because I wanted to lie to those people, it's not because I didn't like them, but it was the only thing I could do at the time, what I thought was best, to protect myself, basically. However, this meant that I was isolated. This meant that I was just working at the job, I was a cog in a machine, I was good at it, but otherwise my life had no human element to it whatsoever. I had no friends, and the very few friends I had, I would see them once every blue moon. The very few people I would meet. So this had an effect on my mental condition, a serious effect. And what I wanted to do at the time was to save money when I could eventually start saving money, to quit. I wanted to escape. It's not because the job is not nice. It is a fancy job with fancy people in a place of power, and of course with prestige. Politics comes with prestige. It's not about how much money you earn. You may do a job that earns more, but prestige, it's not about money, right? It's about power. So it was a fancy job. I had no problem with the job itself, but with the social aspect of it, and specifically with my predicament at the time. So I wanted to quit, and there was nothing that would convince me otherwise. I was unsettled, I was a misfit, so it wasn't working for me. I managed to quit a few years later. It wasn't something that I could act on immediately. It took 3 years to quit. And I was in a terrible state mentally. And I decided that I had to leave that place altogether. Not just to quit the parliament, to quit that career path altogether. So I came to Cyprus, I came to those mountains. And I have been here ever since. And here I managed to cure my condition, to cure my depression. Now I am in a great state. Now I am at my physical peak and my mind is sharp as ever. However, this did not come easily, and this came at a great cost. The last years can be described, in the interest of simplicity, as a lost decade. For me, it is a lost decade. Now I am 34 years old. And since my mid-20s, I have nothing to show for in terms of formal achievements. I didn't do any fancy job. I didn't go to any college. I didn't do anything that I can put on a CV. My CV is thus underwhelming. What I did in those years was part-time jobs, like foraging grapes and doing related farming jobs, seasonal jobs, the kind of stuff that you don't pay attention to. Not because you are bad or anything, but because you don't even consider it. You just get food on the table. You don't know what goes into it. So these are the kind of jobs that don't come with formal qualifications, don't come with some rubber stamp of authority that I can use to say, hey, employ me because I have all those stamps of approval. Employ me because my wall is decorated with certificates and diplomas and all those extras. I have none of that. So my CV will get rejected in advance. Even if I send my CV to whatever, I have zero chance. Zero chance. The last formal qualification that has a modicum of a wow factor is that the job I did at the European Parliament. The others were minor gigs. Nothing too special. So there is that. My CV is underwhelming. What I have been doing in the last few years is that I have been learning how to program. I switched to Emacs, GNU Emacs, which is probably what you know me from. If you are watching this video, maybe this is why you got to know me, how you got to know me. I switched to Emacs in the summer of 2019. And I started from scratch without a background in programming, and eventually I learned how to code in Emacs Lisp. And fast forward to the present, and I maintain several packages for Emacs, and I have also contributed to core Emacs. So you can also check the authors file in Emacs Git, and you will see my name there. You can also check the commit logs, so it's not something that I need to tell you a lot about. It's there for you to see. This, however, again, I don't know. Is this something that can go into a CV? And is Emacs Lisp a marketable language? I don't think so. I don't think it is. So that's why I am making a public plea for help. I don't know what kind of job I can do in terms of formal qualifications. I am willing to do anything. I am willing to do any kind of job, just that it is a sustainable job, just that it pays the bills. And I need to skip any automated process for CV evaluation, because I will get rejected, and I cannot afford to get rejected. I cannot afford to get rejected. I have exhausted my options here. Doing this video is not something I wanted to do. I don't do it now because it's content for the channel. I do it now because I am desperate for a way out, because there is no other way out. I am prepared for all the consequences. I am prepared for all the eventualities. Anything that may happen, I am ready to cope with it. But this does not mean that I want the worst possible outcome. So I must make this leap of faith. I must do this video and hope for the best. So what I ask from you watching this, if you know an employer who can give me some job, any job, and who will assume my startup costs to relocate and to pay for 2 months of basic expenses like rent and food. If you have such a contact, please put me in touch with them. Please tell them about my predicament. Please explain the situation. I need a human contact. I need the human element involved. I cannot go through bureaucracy. I cannot go through computers, through programs. It won't work. It won't work, and that will be unfortunate. I just have to return back because there is a storm coming, so I have to avoid it. So there is that. What I am doing in the meantime, I said that I want to relocate, which remains the case. It has to happen because here life is not sustainable. Unless you have property like the Cypriots do, but they don't care. That's different. I don't have any property. So what I am doing in the meantime is that I am now researching other programming languages I could learn, more marketable ones, that may come in handy, I don't know, in some kind of job search. I don't know. I have limited it to 3 languages, in no particular order: Clojure, Common Lisp, and Python. I don't know which one is the best in terms of what I can do, because I know eLisp, so the Lisps seem easier, but I don't know if they are marketable, so I need something that will work. So I don't care about the finer points of the language. That does not matter to me. If it's marketable and if I can learn it within, let's say, 3 to 6 months. So if I can do some remote work, that will still help. It won't help long term because I still need to relocate, but if there is something that I can do remotely, I am willing to do it. I am willing to do it, and I will do my best. I have no one to vouch for me. I have no certificates, stamps of approval, what I said. All I have is the work I put on my website, protesilaos.com. You can check my website. I am not lazy. I publish prolifically. I do a lot of work on my Emacs packages. You can check my Git commits. You can check the change logs that I publish for all the versions, how they are all detailed. You can check the documentation I write. I am not lazy at all. I take this very seriously, even though it is a hobby for me. Even then, I take it very seriously. So you can imagine that any kind of job, I will also take it very seriously. I am professional about it. The only difference relative to my previous self, the one that suffered from depression, is that I have fixed myself. I have cured my condition, but I have also developed mental fortitude. It's why I can talk about those things and not feel disturbed. It's why I have been able to maintain emotional distance, to remain aloof from what I am saying. It sounds like I am talking about some other person, but I know all the details. I can tell you about all the thought processes. I can tell about the darkness. I know it all. I am an expert. But because I have cured myself, it no longer affects me. So I ask you to put faith in me. Put faith in me, and you will secure my services, whatever those services are, I don't know, for the medium to long term, for however long it takes to pay you back and then to settle myself. I have lost this decade, but I won't dwell over this fact. There is nothing that can be done about it, but I want to reintegrate. I want to come back. I lost the train. Yes, I lost the train, and I lived in the fringes of civilization for a few years, but now I want to catch the next train. So I ask that you take me to the station. Please. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye. If you can help, please do it. If you cannot help, don't worry about it. I am prepared for all eventualities, and I will deal with it. Take care. Bye.